So we're going to be talking about the bearded worker in this video. Yep, that's what he goes by. He doesn't have a real name, at least yet. And yes, I've talked about this guy a little bit before, but in this video I'm going to be going deeper than I ever have and try my best to explain why this guy might be one of the most significant characters in the series. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to go into some webcomic spoilers. So if you don't want to know what's going to happen in the story, I suggest you check out now. So before I go any further, because things are going to get out of hand very quickly in this video, I'm sure a lot of you already know where I'm going with this. But just let me first explain who the bearded worker is. So this unassuming guy is a staff member of the Hero Association. He doesn't appear to be an executive, at least I don't think so, but he could be. But he's not exactly at the bottom, as he seems to have some kind of authority and people working under him to a degree. He also has his finger on the pulse of what's going on in the world of heroes and monsters, and seems to care a lot about his job. He's also featured heavily in the first season, despite not ever receiving a name or any other substantial information about him. Let me also mention that there's another guy who works very closely with him. I guess you could consider him his partner. And oddly enough, this character does not have a name either, and simply goes by Bespectacled Worker. Throughout the series, he assists Bearded Worker, but not nearly as much focus is put on him as the Bearded Worker. So let's just cut to the chase. I think there's a really good chance that the Bearded Worker is the S-Class Rank 1 hero Blast. And of course, I'm going to explain why I think that is. There's quite a bit of evidence to support that, so let's get into it. If we go back to chapter 106 of the webcomic, we see the first instance of Blast actually being shown and having dialogue, which is a part of Tatsumaki's flashback when they first met. Blast says to Tatsumaki, "I'm Blast. I work as a hero. Well, I say that, but I do have a proper job too. I guess this is more of a hobby." He also says, "Okay, I'll tell you one thing you should keep in mind from now on. When the time comes, don't go expecting someone to come save you." So let's focus on the former now, and we'll go back into the latter statement later. So now we know that Blast had a quote-unquote proper job, and that being a hero is a hobby to him. Let's also remember that this whole meeting happened 18 years before the current story, and the Hero Association has only been around for 3 years, so it's really unknown what kind of job Blast had. Maybe it was some kind of law enforcement in the field of that, but regardless, I feel the job that Blast has now is of course in the Hero Association, because in this theory, he's the friggin' bearded worker. So why would Blast have a job, and why would Blast want his identity to be a secret? Well, there's a few reasons for that. Let's go to chapter 85 of the manga, where the executives demand Blast come to their aid, to which Sitch says it's impossible for us to order Blast to do anything. He will only perform acts of heroism of his own free will. He refuses to be bound by anyone and hates being in the limelight, and thus has refused to publish his identity and background in the hero directory. And yet, in spite of all of that, we have decided that he is worth giving special treatment. But when humanity really does need saving, he will definitely come. So what Sitch is saying here lines up with Blast's line about when the time comes, don't go expecting someone to come save you. He also hates being in the limelight and refuses to publish his identity. Well, that's because he's the bearded worker and he doesn't want everyone to know that. But he also wants to help people and be as close to the Hero Association and those activities as possible, so he decided to hide in plain sight as the bearded worker. And like we've already discussed, Blast already stated that he had a proper job before, so this isn't too far-fetched. Also, Sitch seems to know Blast personally, maybe, based on the dialogue here at least, more so than most people we can assume. And it's very likely because Sitch, of course, knows that the bearded worker is Blast, a character which he also knows since they work together and have spoken in the first season. So we'll go into the whole when humanity truly needs saving thing later. Let's talk about what Blast potentially represents and why that adds fuel to this theory and hypothesis. So I and many others have speculated that Blast is One's allegory for Superman in this story. One isn't shy from having other allegories in One Punch Man, so I don't think it's too much of a stretch to assume that's what he's doing with Blast here. So first of all, Superman is the #1 hero in the DC world, more or less. If the Justice League was the S-Class, Superman would be #1 among them, just like how Blast is #1 among the S-Class. Blast also resembles Superman. I mean, come on, he has a suit and he even has a cape. and dark hair, I guess, if you even want to go that far. Going further into the small portion about Blast in the data book, the One Punch Man Hero Encyclopedia, Fubuki says that Blast is stronger than King, can shoot lasers from his eyes, and rules over psychic powers and the ability to command trillions of robots. So the eye laser thing is super compelling, and that's one of the most famous examples of Superman's powers. Also stating that he's stronger than King could be implying that he has near unmatched levels of physical strength. It's also revealed that Blast had defeated the strongest ninja in history, who we can assume is ultra fast, similar to Flashy Flash, meaning that Blast is likely ultra fast as well. And these are all abilities that Superman is known for. Also, the whole rules over psychic powers could either mean that he cannot be bound by psychics and or espers, or he himself has psychic and esper abilities and can fly like Tatsumaki, giving him flight like Superman as well. But I'm really unsure about this, honestly. So the biggest thing here, which I think gives this theory the most weight, is that Superman is also Clark Kent, which is also Superman hiding in plain sight, just like how I speculate Blast is here, working as the bearded worker. But as where Clark Kent hides his identity with glasses, and people just comically aren't able to see that he's Superman, I think the bearded worker, on the other hand, is simply just wearing his hair down and has a 5 o'clock shadow. And that brings us to the similar appearances between Blast and the bearded worker. So once again, back in chapter 106 of the webcomic, we see what Blast truly looks like. And it appears that he has black spiky hair. And this is further reinforced in the first draft of chapter 84 of the manga when we see Blast from the back in that flashback during Phoenix Man's little dialogue. He has the same hair in that instance. However, this was later changed to a blurry, more ambiguous depiction of Blast when the chapter was released in its volume. Probably because one either knew that he was revealing too much about Blast, or he simply just wanted to wait until further into the story to show the manga readers what he actually looks like. Also, bearded worker's age, which is of course unknown at this point, seems to be maybe in his 40s, possibly, which can realistically line up with what Blast's age could be, because his encounter with Tatsumaki was 18 years ago, and he appears to be an adult at that time, so he's likely in his 20s, maybe. And if we go 18 years further, he would likely be around the age of what bearded worker appears to be. So also, I'm going to go back to the whole hair thing. If you push the bearded worker's hair back, you can easily replicate Blast's hairdo. So like I was saying, this could be his Clark Kent glasses, and maybe the 5 o'clock shadow too. You know, him just hiding in plain sight in the Hero Association so he could stay close to everything, but not revealing his identity because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be in the limelight, and that's what this is all about. And just like how Clark Kent changes into Superman when he is needed, the bearded worker would change into Blast when he is needed, which Sitch said is when humanity is truly in peril. And I assume that Blast hasn't been active simply because he hasn't really needed to. Since the S-Class was formed around 2 years ago, maybe a little more than that, which is the last known appearance of Blast going against Elder Centipede, he probably felt that they could just take care of things and he doesn't really need to get his hands dirty anymore. But only the moment that it seems that they can't deal with something, you know, a threat, a monster, whatever it is, which is the case of humanity truly being in peril, then he is just simply forced to intervene, and probably changes into his costume and pushes his hair back at that point and maybe quickly shaves or something. So now I just want to touch on some other little small things that also relate the bearded worker to Blast, possibly. So the bearded worker is shown talking to Tatsumaki a few times in season 1, and he has a reluctance to send her after the ghost of Z-Town, which are just the feats of Saitama, and it really seems like he is truly caring about her in this instance, like beyond the professional level, which ties back to Blast originally saving Tatsumaki, meaning that he, being Blast, has an emotional tie to her. So this might be a stretch, of course, but it's definitely something, and I feel that these instances between them interacting are shown for a specific reason. Like I said, it could be a stretch, but it's definitely something. So the bearded worker and the bespectacled worker give Saitama the benefit of the doubt and give him the location of Deep Sea King to see how truly powerful he is based off of his outstanding physical test results. So this is one of the rare instances of a character actually giving Saitama the benefit of the doubt and acknowledging him for what he could be. But I also think that this is showing that the bearded worker is now aware of Saitama's existence. He knows who he is. He knows that he is possibly ultra powerful. And I think that's because Blast is likely to interact with him at some point in the future of the story. So now they have some kind of history which could tie back to this specific moment. Like I said, this is also probably a stretch, but it's something as well. And finally, the bearded worker, along with a female co-worker, is the one to relay the information about Elder Centipede to King. Information which is said to be classified. And of course, we know that Blast is the one who took down Elder Centipede, or at least almost did. I think that's odd that this is specifically shown that the bearded worker is the one in this sequence, when it didn't really even have to be him. It could have just been King having the information relayed to him off panel or off screen from just the Hero Association in general. But no, it's just specifically showing us that the bearded worker is the one talking about this in this instance. When we know that Blast is the one that won against Elder Centipede. I mean, come on. It's because he's Blast and he is the one who took down Elder Centipede. So he knows firsthand, which is why he is going to take it upon himself, along with his female co-worker, to give this information to King. Also, bearded worker is in the webcomic originally. He's not new to the manga like many other characters and storylines and whatnot, so it's likely that one has had this reveal planned since the beginning. You know, with the whole Superman, Clark Kent, Blast, the whole thing that I've been talking about, but that's pretty much it. Blast is Superman, the bearded worker is Clark Kent, Allegories and all that good stuff. I'm not saying this is 100% concrete, but I think it's very likely that this could be what's going on, and I think that would be pretty cool if this turns out to be true. So let me know what you think about all of this. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think this is stupid? If you do, that's fine. I completely understand. It's just for fun, these theories and whatnot, but let me know what you think regardless. And if you liked it, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A, and if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.